Hey guys, welcome back to the shop where we go over tips and tricks and frequently asked questions to make sure that you get the most out of your Redline bow hunting gear. My name is Wess Brown, resident bow technician and field producer for Redline Bowhunting, and today we're going to be going over our Redline lineup of quivers, how to install them, and the different options that different quivers offer for your setup. So the first one we're going to go over today is the RL1 6-arrow quiver. This is my personal quiver that I have on my Evo XF. And I'm just going to show you how I'm going to mount it on my bow and also the different angles and options that this particular quiver offer you. Now with the RL1, we have two different types of RL1s where you can have the 6-arrow or the 3-arrow. Now the mounting process and the options that they include are the exact same. So me using my 6-arrow quiver is going to be just the same as if you have a 3-arrow quiver. After that, we're going to go over the RL2, which mounts and has the same options as your RL3, whether it be your 5-arrow or whichever one that you purchased. Now, with every purchase that we have, you're going to have all the tools necessary and the mounting brackets necessary to make this a successful build. Now, if you guys are unsure on how to do this on your own and this video is not enough, we urge you to make sure to utilize your local pro shop or one of our trusted dealers that you can find on our website. But again, this is a very simple build and process to go through. And as archers, we really like that process, putting new stuff and tinkering around. So this is a great opportunity to kind of start that if you haven't yet already done a lot of stuff with your bow. This is a great option to really get your hands on your own equipment and customize your setup to your liking. So with that said, let's just get right into it. Now, if you bought the RL1 or the RL2, 3, or what have you, again, they all come with the tools needed and the brackets. So in the RL1, you're going to notice the bracket that is just like this here. And you'll also notice that if you're going to mount it on your bow, more than likely you're going to end up mounting it to the bracket that is attached to your sight. So whether that sight is bracket mounted or dovetail mounted, you should have options on the bracket that attaches to your riser to mount the quiver of your choice. So assuming that you've already put the sight on your bow, let's just get right into mounting the mounting bracket for your quiver. Now you're going to have two different screws here. You have two screws given to you along with your bracket, and I'm just going to start this with my hand, and then we're going to go into the different options that this particular setup has. So you notice that I have two different holes, top and bottom. These are my only two options that I have for mounting my quiver. Some will have multiple spots. You find what fits best for your setup. And I'm just going to put these in very lightly, just enough to keep it in place, and then I'm going to show you the different things that you can do with it. So I have the bracket mounted on my bow now. I just barely tighten the screws just so I can loosen them easily and show you guys how this can be maneuvered. But just a quick thing I want to show you guys is right here. Now this is the rail that your quiver is going to mount directly on, and you'll notice that you have about an inch of a little bit close to the riser or a little bit further away. For me, I like to just start right in the middle, right about there, maybe on the outside a little bit more than usual. And the reason why I do that is because, one, I want to keep the quiver from touching the riser or any other part of the bow in case I have any type of vibration. And I also want to make sure that I keep any of my fletchings off my strings, cables, riser, or limbs. So I like to just start on maybe the outside of what middle might be. But if you can see here let me move this around. You can see right here, there's your screw that you would use to adjust your in and out of where your quiver is going to sit on this bracket. Now that we have this position where we want it, we also have this semi on there. You can notice that it is a little loose still. I'm going to grab my quiver. So I have my quiver. This is my personal quiver here. And obviously I have my arrows on here. We might need to take off a couple just to get to a couple options. But real quick, I'm just going to show you how to mount this on the bow, and then we'll start adjusting it for my particular setup, and then you guys could be able to have the opportunity out on your own to kind of position the quiver wherever you need it. But if you notice right here, we have our lever, and that is our locking lever to lock the quiver in place on the bracket or this rail here. So we want to make sure that this lever is out like this. And I'm just going to put it right, I'm going to line these up, and it's going to slide on just like that. And then I'm going to clamp this down. Once it's clamped down, the quiver is on there. It's not going to move. It's not going to go anywhere. But we still have to address the bracket right here. And as you see it, as it sits, it's pretty darn straight. And for me, I like to make sure that my arrows, as they're going up and down, they're perfectly aligned with my string. I've just found that with this particular setup, it balances my bow pretty well. So pretty much just your straight up vertical for me is where I like it. Now some of you might have a forward heavy bow, or putting this on here makes it more forward heavy, or maybe you want it closer to your riser this way. And you have that option. Obviously you can see here you have almost 2 inches of space here that you can move this quiver. So I'm just going to loosen these up just a little bit more, just to give me some space. And you're going to notice that I can take this all the way forward like this, or I can go all, I got to loosen this bottom one just a little bit more, just like that. So I have these different moving options here, so I can bring this all the way forward, but obviously you can see I have this dovetail and I have this rail, and I don't want to hit this and I don't want to interfere. So I'm just going to bring it right back, and for me, I'm going to have mine set up. You can see where I had it set up before, and that's about where I'm going to want it. Right about there. So once you have it, you can kind of hold it in place here. And I'm just going to tighten this top one, and then I am going to, all I'm doing right now is I'm just going to try to make sure it's perpendicular to my string the best I can make it. That tends to be best for me, and then I'm just going to lock that in place. Just like that. Let me double check here. Yep, good there. And then I'm going to tighten up this top screw. Now you can go ahead and screw these in fairly tight. Just be careful because it is aluminum. Aluminum can bend, and these screws are very, very tough, and if you really crank on them, they can crush that aluminum. So just be very careful. I'm going to tighten it. And that's where I like it. Now if for some reason, like it looks like here, I can bring it in a little bit closer, just like that. Matter of fact, I've already had this set up for myself, and actually I thought that was going to be too close for me, but I kind of like it as close as I can get it to my bow. So you can tighten that up, and there you have it. It is on there and it is solid. Now another thing that we also give you an option to do is to manipulate your quiver up and down. So for me, I like to, I mean, it's kind of like an OCD type thing, I think, but I like about the same distance of space that I have up between my limbs and the quiver itself, and then the end of my arrows. I have 29-inch arrows, and this bow is a 33-inch axle to axle, so you're going to want about 2 inches between, for me, you're going to want 2 inches, you know, between the limb and your quiver, and then your limbs and the bottom of your arrows down below. So to adjust that, it's very easy. So I'm just going to take these 2 arrows out real quick, just so I can get to these screws. Now if you see right here, you have screws here that look like they are clamping on these rails, and these are carbon fiber rails that we have. And all you got to do to adjust your up and down is take your tool, loosen this one a good bit. Don't take them all the way out, you don't need to. And loosen this one a good bit. And now I can slide this up and I can slide it down. And for me, again, I'm just going to make sure that I have even space on the top and bottom. And that's where I like it, right there. And all I'm going to do is just tighten these down one last time, and then I can replace my arrows in there. Now, the different options that we give you guys as far as your up and down adjustments, your forward lean, your backward lean, and how close you can get to the bow and how far away is just by, everyone has different types of arrow setups, and everyone likes their bow balanced differently. So this gives you that option to really have almost a 3-dimensional look of what your quiver needs to do for your bow. So if you like to shoot your bow with a quiver on it all the time, this really gives you the advantage to balance your bow out perfectly. And if you utilize our back bar system, no matter if you're running a 6 or a 10 or a 12-inch back bar, this will allow you to really balance that bow out so that when you draw and you have your quiver on, you're not going to have this overwhelming amount of weight on one side of your bow. You can really tailor this exactly how you want it. But the RL1 has the most adjustability of all of our quivers. But now let's move on to our RL2. And the reason why I'm going to do the RL2 quiver is because the mounting system is the same as RL3. So I'm not going to show you the RL3 today. It's going to be the RL2, but the mounting and the adjustments are the exact same. All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and go do the RL2. Now the difference between the RL2 and the RL3, as far as what they are, is we have a carbon fiber 5-arrow and the other one is just a molded plastic. Both very durable, both very usable, but the mounting process is identical. So I'm just going to use the RL2 today and show you how to mount this on and the options you have to customize it to your bow. So again, when you buy this in your package, you're going to get the tools you need and you're going to get the mounting brackets you need, along with obviously the quiver. And this is pretty standard when it comes to mounting a quiver. You have your bracket here and you're just going to line it up with the 2 holes on your mounting spots on your bow. Now, when you're mounting this bracket on your bow, you want to make sure that the rail where the quiver is going to come into is going to come from the back of the bow, because at least for me, with this dovetail here, it's not going to allow me to bring that quiver in this way. If you don't have this bar right here, like a dovetail or anything, you may be able to mount it the other way, but I like to mount things from the back of the bow because that's where I stand. I'm on the back of the bow all the time. I'm really not on that front. So I'm just going to make sure I orient this where this little rail system is coming to the back of the bow or to the strings. So I'm just going to hold this here. I'm going to put my screw in, get it semi-hand tightened. Screw that in. And when you mount these screws in, unlike the RL1, this one here, you don't have that front and backward option. It is just fixed right there, which isn't a bad thing because it just makes it a little more simple, maybe less moving parts. But let me get this one in here. So I'm going to make sure I tighten it down good and tight, just like that. Once that's on, I have the quiver here, and then you're going to notice that we have this bracket right here. So on the front, you're going to notice this ring, and this is your locking ring. And then also you have the same option as you did on the RL1 right here. So you have about a 1/2 inch of movement of close to the riser or away from the riser. And I'm just going to leave it right there nice and close, just like we did with the RL1. This seems to be probably the best option for me anyway. So I'm just going to make sure that that is out there. And I'm just going to push this in like this. Now, if you guys notice that I'm having a little bit of an issue trying to get this in here, and mainly it's probably because this ring is on there too tight. So all you have to do is just unscrew it like this, just enough. Yeah, so that you can get this in here. Just like that. Now, if I go to lock this here, and this goes for the RL1 as well, it's the same thing. If I go to lock this in and it's not tight and it still wants to come out, that's okay. It doesn't mean that anything is broke. All it means is that this ring here needs to be tightened. So we're just going to take this out and we're going to adjust the tightness. We'll go 2 right there and we'll put it back in, and it still doesn't want to attach, and that's okay. We're just going to keep on tightening this because it does work on a Allen key back here, but you don't have to touch this, which is nice. But it works right here to where all you got to do is just keep tightening this spot right here, and then you keep playing with it. All right, so see, I've already made it too tight, so I'm just going to back it off. Just 1, and then right in. And now it's nice and tight. It's not going to come out. Okay, so that sounds a little complicated or maybe just a little bit too much, but it's actually kind of nice because sometimes when you have a quiver, you only have one option. You put it in there and it's stuck, and sometimes you'll have some play. And this is going to take all the play out of your quiver so that you can tighten it to your likeness and then push your quiver into its bracket cinch it down, and now it's not going to move. So that is, in my opinion, one of the nice aspects of this type of locking mechanism, whether it be on the RL2, RL3, or the RL1s. So once you guys get that all tightened up and getting it exactly how you want it, the next thing is obviously we're going to be able to move the quiver itself up and down just like we did on the RL1, and the 2 screws that you need to access this are right on the back. So right here you would just loosen the top and bottom screws, and then once you loosen those up, this mount here will move freely up and down these carbon rails, and that's how you will adjust the height of your quiver in accordance to where it is on your bow. So it's perfect where it's at for me right now. Make sure that goes on, and that's it, guys. So you'll notice that the RL1 has a few more options as far as adjustability and customizing it directly to your bow, and the RL2 has great adjustments for when it comes to coming towards the rise of your bow, coming out, and making sure that you can take your quiver up and down to kind of even that look out on your bow. And the RL3 has the same exact adjustments as the RL2. So if you have the RL2 or RL3, this tutorial is for you. And if you have the RL1, obviously in the earlier parts of this video, we went over that. And really, guys, that's about it. If you guys have any comments or concerns, drop them in the comment box here in YouTube or on social media, or shoot us an email and let us know what you want to see next, or if you have any questions, we'll be sure to answer. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.